here's 5 reasons. Hi, I'm Roger the Retro Gaming Puppet, and welcome to another edition of 5 Reasons. You know, so far on this show, we've only covered Nintendo consoles, and before people start calling me a fanboy, I figured we'd do something a little different. So this episode, we're going to take a look at the first system to challenge Nintendo's dominance over the world of home video games. It's the Sega Genesis, aka the Sega Mega Drive. The Sega Mega Drive was released first in Japan on October 29, 1988. It was rebranded the Genesis for US release in the summer of '89, then hit PAL territories as the Mega Drive once again in 1990. The system remains, to date, Sega's greatest console success, having moved over 30 million units, with over 20 million alone being in North America, where it performed the best. The original hardware was revised in 1993 for the Genesis 2, and after that there was a glut of system variations, including the Majesco-manufactured Genesis 3, the JVC XI, and Sega's own portable version, the Nomad.
But wait, you can play it too.
There were about 700 games released for the North American Genesis when all was said and done, but this list was still pretty hard to come up with. You see, Sega's been great custodians of their legacy, and there have been numerous re-releases and compilation discs of Genesis games over the years. Heck, I think I have 4 or 5 copies of Gunstar Heroes alone. But I was able to find some games that remain exclusive to the platform, so here's 5 reasons to keep one in the house. If there's one Genesis exclusive reason to get a multi-tap, it's General Chaos. Created by Game Refuge and published by Electronic Arts, this game is the perfect combination of action and strategy for 4 players. You have 5 commando types and they're put into 4 squads, which you can choose from for each battle. 3 of the squads have 5 members and 1 has 2. The one with 2 is controlled directly instead of using a cursor to move them, which allows for more mobility. This means options for playstyle, as well as options for strategy in each squad. The game plays out as you attempt to control territory on a map, eventually taking the opposing army's capital. The maps have loot and hazards and all kinds of terrain to vary things up. The art style is also really lively and gives the game a ton of character. Overall, this is a great and unique game. And while EA has re-released a lot of their older games on other systems, this one's never gotten that courtesy. So go ahead, get yourself a multi-tap and 3 friends and give this one a shot. Pun intended. One of the earliest and most prolific third-party publishers on the Genesis was Renovation, the North American arm of Telenet Japan. They mostly published games from Telenet and Telenet's subsidiary Wolf Team, but this game was developed by Technosoft, the folks behind the Thunder Force series. What's odd about this is that Sega had been publishing most of Technosoft's Genesis games in the US themselves, including Thunder Force 2, 3, 4, and Herzog 2, but I guess they passed on this one. Fortunately, Renovation picked it up. Released in late 1990 in Japan, but not until 1993 in the US, Elemental Master is a vertical, forced-scrolling run-and-gun shooter. 1 button fires in front of you, and 1 fires behind. Now the player starts with just 1 attack, but in a Mega Man-esque step, you can choose which of the first 4 stages you want to take on, and you gain a new power from each. Each of those gained attacks can be powered up by holding either the fire forward or fire backward buttons to unleash an ultra-powerful attack. This game bucks a lot of shooter trends. It includes a life bar, your shot power-ups can't be lost, and the setting is a medieval fantasy world instead of space. Also, the difficulty is surprisingly fair. Elemental Master seems to have flown under the radar, but it's a great shooter. If you're a fan of the genre, check it out. While we're on the subject of renovation and scrolling shooters, here's another one, Aris. This 1990 release was developed by parent company Telenet Japan and has a more traditional setting, space. But the setting isn't what's unique about this one, the power-up system is. The TOZ system, as it's called in-game, allows you to fire this little pod at enemies and steal their weapons. There are a total of 18 weapons you can get from enemies, so there's a lot of options for different situations and playstyles. It also means that when you lose a life or continue, you're not without a weapon for long. It's like the anti-Gradius. Need a weapon? Just shoot the pot at the first enemy you see. And if you copy the same weapon multiple times, it will power up. This is another criminally overlooked shooter on a system that is known for the genre. What's going on? Oh, and this game also had a delightfully terrible ad campaign. We talked about this game on Same Name Different Game a while back, and Joe named it his favorite Ghostbuster game of all time. An action platformer with light RPG elements, this game shares a title with many other games, but is in fact totally unique to the Genesis. Developed by the masters at Compile, this game came out very early in the Genesis lifespan, in the summer of 1990, but it remains one of the finest exclusives in the library. And of course the license has driven up the price since it's unlikely to ever get a re-release, but it's worth it, especially if you're a big Ghostbusters fan, even if the game does overlook Winston. Konami didn't start publishing Genesis games until late 1992, over 3 years after the system released, and well into the heated 16-bit war. But when they did, there was no looking back. And Contra Hardcore is arguably their best effort on the system. It's also, in my opinion, one of the best games in the Contra series, right up there with the NES port of the original, and Contra 3 for the SNES. This game provides you with 4 commandos to choose from, each having a different weapon loadout. Now it's important for me to mention at this point that one of these commandos is in fact a cyborg werewolf with sunglasses and a gun arm who has a power-up that's an exploding punch. That's the damn coolest thing ever, ain't it? Speaking of super cool, this game has branching pathways, so there's no way to see the entire game in one go. Some of these paths are shorter than others, some are easier than others, and there's this one where you fight this weird Belmont kind of guy to a remix of Vampire Killer. The ending you get here is real weird, but I won't spoil it for you. The combination of branching paths and selectable characters makes for almost endless customization while playing this game, but be warned, it's hard. Like, really hard. Makes you say, "Uff da hard," you know? And the Japanese version is easier, but it's also extremely rare and therefore extremely expensive. Still, the real tragedy here is that this game has never gotten any kind of re-release. Up until, well, recently, Konami's been really good about their history, re-releasing compilations and putting stuff out on the Wii Virtual Console, but the Genesis titles always remained conspicuous by their absence, so if you want to get hardcore, original hardware is the only way to go. And that does it. That's another episode in the bag. So, that's 5 reasons to dust off your Genesis and get cozy in these winter months. I'm Roger the Retro Gaming Puppet, and I'll see you next time on 5 Reasons.
Now, when you buy the Sega Genesis that comes with Sonic 1, you'll get Sonic 2 absolutely free. Sonic 2 handles stubborn stains, embarrassing bald spots, no problem. It even slices and dices, makes thousands of julienne fries. But wait, you can play it too. This free Sonic 2 is a $54.99 value. You get 2 Sonics for the price of 1. Sonic 2 fits easily into any tackle box. Made from a space-age polymer plastic for years of family fun, and pets love it too. Buy the Sega Genesis that comes with Sonic 1 and get Sonic 2 free.
Act now. Wiener Dog Sweater sold separately.